Propain being a direct-to-consumer brand didn't really have a big footprint in the region where I ride. You know, maybe in the Northwest they're more common. And with that being the case, over the past 3 years I've fielded probably 100 questions about my experience with Propain and the Tyee.
Can you believe now? Now you know that the movies are not real. Will the camera still go?
This Propain Tyee V6 Carbon has been my main bike for over 3 years. It's been my main horse in the stable. It's my go-to bike for cross-country riding. It's my go-to bike for jump trails. It's my go-to bike for flow trails. It's my go-to bike for enduro. It's my go-to bike for free riding. And it's my go-to bike for downhill parks. And because Propain deposited what I owed them into their account prior to even shipping me this bike, I don't owe Propain anything. And because of that, I don't give a shit what Propain thinks. Now, for the entirety of this video, I will be wearing a full face helmet and goggles, and I can assure you it's because of safety. It has nothing to do with anonymity and cut. Will you please tell the upload team to make sure that this video does not go on the Slanted Ground main channel and that it only goes to the other channel, please? Tell all 12 of them, they need to know. Thank you. So without further time wasting, I want to do what I like to do, and that's ride my bike, and I'm going to tell you all of my thoughts and my experiences with the Propain Tyee.
Will the camera still go? Let's make believe.
All right, for this experience to have meaning, you need to know a couple things about me. I'm not reviewing this bike to be a reviewer. I think you really need to compare it against all of the other bikes in the class. So I'm not doing that, but this is an honest experience for anybody that's curious what a long-term experience and feedback consists of. Additionally, there's a V6.1 that Propain just released of the Tyee. It's got some logo layout changes. It offers the option of headset cable routing or the traditional inner frame cable routing. This is mandatory headset cable routing, which I have a lot of thoughts on, which I'm going to share shortly. This is 170 up front, 160 out back. As we make our way to the trails here, all the enduro riding that I do, all the stuff that you've seen on the videos for the past 2 years have been on this bike, with the exclusion of maybe 3 videos. Woo, it just got dark. However, with all of the enduro riding that I do all the climbing myself. I do not rely on shuttles. Shuttles frustrate me because there's always the shuttle math, and then you get the kids that have to finish their Red Bulls before they can get in the car. Then they gotta source their lost keys and their lost phone. I'd rather just be on the bike climbing. So that's what I do. I spend a lot of time on this bike climbing, maybe as much time climbing as descending. And important to note, it's a very, very good climber. Everything you've heard is true. Never once, not a single time, have I locked out the shock hoping to improve my experience with climbing. I was coming from a very light 140, 150 trail bike. And when I got onto this bike, I actually felt like climbing was easier in tech sections. Something about the suspension platform just gave me more traction, and I was able to kind of tractor up through the tech much easier than I was on that lighter bike.
We still scream and turn our heads and laugh like we're young.
Now, regarding my suspension setup, I like a very aggressive ride. I don't like a plush ride at all. Pro 10 suspension is not very plush. The suspension is very progressive, meaning it's gonna feel a little bit rough off the top for a lot of people that like a softer ride. I don't, but on my Propain Stretch, I have the Vivid Air, and that really smooths out that small bump chatter. Additionally, you could put a coil on it and likely do the same, but I like a very progressive suspension, and this really offered that for me. Additionally, I run about 20 to 25% sag in the rear on the shock, which is about 5 to 10 less than what they recommend. And up front, I do about 5 less than the recommended 30. Because what I have found is when I ride it at bike parks or enduro trails that are fast, unlike this section here, that stiffer setup comes alive. I'm not bottoming out, and I know exactly what I'm gonna get out of bumps. And then when I ride it on slower stuff like this, sure, it's a little stiffer, less plush, but it's very progressive, but it's very lively. The bike just comes alive, and it's very playful. So sure, it's a little heavier. It's a bit more of a bigger rig to push, you know, through your cross-country trails. But if you like an aggressive geo and you like to pop and hop, this Tyee is a great option for you because it'll do just that. So the suspension platform, the Propain suspension, has been really fun. Of any of the free riding drops that I've done, the drops, the flats and whatnot, coming up short on jumps, I never really felt the bottom of the shock. Certainly I met it many times based on my little rubber thingy, but I never would have known without looking at that little rubber thingy.
And this could just be the last chance that we've got. And this could be.
For the majority of this bike's life, well, yeah, I rode it as a 29er and I'm riding it as a 29er now. But this past winter, I fell in love with it set up as a mullet. So it's got a flip chip that'll allow you to run a 27.5 wheel in the rear. Now I'm running a full 29 setup right now because I had been testing Nomadic custom wheels. They sent me some carbon 29er hoops to test. If you're curious about them, they're a small brand out of Santa Barbara, California. Go check out my video a couple videos back. But in both configurations, the bike has been pretty exceptional, I would say, as far as feel goes in responsiveness and control and stability.
The shedding of our skin and all the pieces that you are.
Don't worry, it's not all rose-colored glasses. We're gonna get into the goods here shortly. So I was forced to have headset cable routing based on my purchase. It wasn't an option not to, and I was okay with it at the time. I like a quiet bike, and the headset routing really made it quiet. Made the cockpit super clean. I'm really only running two cords anyway, because the rest is wireless. But I really appreciate how quiet the bike is. We're gonna pull for that. Now I do all the work on my bike myself. I don't ship it off. I don't ship my headaches off. Everything from building up the wheels to building up the bikes, I do it all. And I can say without a doubt that it really has not been an added hassle. The 3 years I've owned this bike, 2 of them have been exclusive to racking it on the roof of a car. Pull the front wheel, put it on a roof rack, and all of the moisture, whatever, the debris, the gunk, rainstorms, torrential downpours, whatever, didn't hold me back from traveling. But all of that moisture traveled through the slipstream of my car and just hammered the headset. And with that being the case, I haven't had to replace the bearings. The bearings are still good. I check them like every few months and they're fine. Now I ride the bike again in all conditions, rain. This past winter it was 8 degrees one time when I went out for a ride. And I've ridden in 103 degree temperatures. Really all conditions, all temperatures, all year round. This bike has a lot of diverse miles on it. And the fact of the matter is, the bearings that this bike shipped with are all in there at this very instance. At the very most, I got a slight creak in the headset, which isn't uncommon for bikes. Even with the integrated headset cable routing, it was very easy to clean and lube. I didn't even have to take my bars completely off my steer tube. Essentially, I would just lift them up slightly to expose all the inner workings of the headset, get a rag in there, buff out the dirt, re-grease, slide everything back into place, retorque, and on my way.
Cause they hang around like fools. You need to take a step. You have to let them go. So you settle all your bets and set up a problem. All these thoughts are not unique. Yes, the universal.
Now, actually, the truth is not all the bearings are original. Rear triangle bearings are not original. I'm gonna get to why that is here in a second. minor issue. And that is the dust caps, or the bearing dust caps, or the axle caps. And what those are is they cover your bearing and they connect the axle that goes through like the main pivots here. And I always torque them to spec, and for that matter, all the issues I've had with them is when I was checking their torque. These dust caps are something you're definitely going to want to check after your first few rides, maybe even after your first ride, because they will come loose. And you just want to check them periodically. I found that once you get them torqued, what's this? Oh, jeez. They'll hold up for a little while. I do know this, that even if you're using all the correct fittings, they will show roundness. Like they'll mark up and wear down super easy. Additionally, I have broken 4 of them. All 4 just literally sheared off when I was just checking to make sure that the torque was still 15 Newton meters. So what I have done is I've gone and just, when I check them now, I just check to make sure that they're at least 14, and I've been okay. 50% of the questions I get about the Propain Tyee are regarding support and how responsive Propain's North America support is. And when I sheared off the first axle cap, the bike didn't come with other axle caps. So that was my first experience with Propain support. Good grief, I can't see anything. And my experience was so-so. So Propain's notorious for having kind of bad support, which boggles my mind, because as a direct-to-consumer brand, the most important thing that you can do, and perhaps even the easiest thing you can do, is be responsive in emails. Even if you don't have the answers right away, or you can't get something out in the mail that day, the easiest thing you can do is respond and be like, hey, I understand your issues. I'm sorry. We're working on it. We will get back to you in 24 hours, 48 hours. That can be enough to give the consumer some assurance. So when I broke that first cap, I reached out to customer support, and they were a little slow. Slower than I would have expected. And the response was, it was because the staff was at a trade show, and I get it, right? They have a small team in Propain North America. I'm just gonna walk this to make sure there are no trees down. But emails go everywhere you go. I work in the corporate world, right? I understand you get busy, you get emails, and it's hard to keep up with emails. But no matter where you go in this world nowadays, you can check your email. And if you're in a trade show booth, you got some downtime, right? Take 10 minutes to go through some emails. Do that 3 times a day. You're going to catch up on a lot of emails. Don't put them off until you're back in the offices at Propain headquarters North America. That's the sense that I got happened. I don't really remember the exact timeline for how long it took for them to get back to me, but it was longer than I would have liked, and I'm not the kind to like bitch and complain and moan, so I didn't give them too much problems, but it was a little frustrating. However, just because that little stupid cap sheared off, my bike was really unrideable. Anyway, when I finally did get the part, they sent me 5 of them in total, which was good to know. So I had some backups and didn't have to go through that again. And in hindsight, that really saved me from a lot of headache, because like I said, I broke many, many more doing the same exact thing. I don't know if they've changed them up in the past year or two when they released some newer versions of their bikes. So this bike has 3 bike park seasons under its belt, one of which was the season pass season, so got a ton of bike park experience. And on this day I was mainly riding jumps, landing on transition, so it was nothing too strenuous for an enduro bike. But then the rear end suddenly felt a little bit loose, a little bit of flex. So I hopped off, inspected it. Bike was covered in dirt and dust, but nothing appeared loose. The rear axle was tight. Checked all the torque on all the pivots, they were fine. Everything looked good based on close visual inspection. So my assumption was there was just like a bearing that needed to be replaced or something. And I went and continued riding. Finished out the day riding big jumps in double blacks. And all was fine. Just a little bit of odd flex in the rear. After I got it home, I washed it off, hosed it down good, scrubbed it down well. And I noticed there was a crack in the rear triangle. And here's the thing. Materials will crack, carbon will crack, aluminum can crack. Anything can crack. I mean, they're materials. Obviously, you manufacture them and you do enough engineering and research and development to, eliminate that. But it can happen. But while materials can fail, what you don't want is your customer service to fail. So I shot Propain an email with a picture and explained what happened. And sure enough, they sent me a rear triangle in the mail. And I would say the downtime was about 2 weeks from when first contact to when I had the rear triangle in my hands. And again, that rear triangle came with all new bearings, which is why I said before that the rear triangle bearings weren't original. So I want to say this, that their customer service appears to have gotten better. I know that they've taken steps at being more proactive with the customer service experience. But the funny thing is now, more recently, I sent Propain an email, and it had nothing to do with like warranty or anything like that. It had to do with another matter, relatively unimportant. But you get an automated email response that'll say like they have an SLA to respond within, I think it was 7 days. I'll correct that on screen if I was wrong. But I didn't get a response back for 3 weeks. I think it was 3 weeks before I heard back from them. And granted, they responded, and no, it was not super important. No, it wasn't a timely thing. But if you're gonna set an SLA that goes out to all your customers that you can't meet, that looks almost worse than not giving any type of timeline altogether. So. So here we are, the last video with this bike, and over the past, just under 2 years, the majority of the stories that I've told, the experiences that I've shared, the information that I've provided have been on this bike. This bike and I have experienced a lot of ups and downs, a lot of failures, a lot of successes, a lot of scary moments. I ride solo so much of the time. It's just me relying on my bike. So what do you say we go do one more drop the flat, and then we'll put this pony out to pasture.